Welcome back. Now, what I'm going to talk about in this video, you'll just have to trust me on. If you haven't worked in large teams, it's hard to imagine these problems. And one of the main reasons that companies are afraid of hiring junior developers is that they don't have experience with this process. So I know it's not the best way for me to just say, hey, trust me, just follow along. But for this one, let's do that. Just trust me that I have faced these problems. I have helped implement these patterns in companies, and they're really, really important to know, especially as a senior developer. Now let's get back on track. You see, each project usually starts up with a project setup. You decide on the folder structure. You maybe think of the build steps like setting up Webpack or using Create React app. But then you also want to set up what we call your continuous integration. The sooner you set it up, the more standard your code base will have and less headaches you'll have later on. So continuous integration is something that happens or should happen at the very beginning of a project. And then you can slowly start to expand to things like continuous delivery and continuous deployment one day. And again, I'm telling you this from experience. If you're working for a startup and you start from scratch, go to your boss and let him or her know why you need to set this up right away. In the long run, as the team grows, they'll have less bugs and more manageable code. They're going to think you're a superstar. Now, old software practices used to do this in this diagram. Everyone worked on a feature or a bug. Let's say we had a team of 10 developers. Then they all pushed all of their changes to something like GitHub on a branch. And then it would just sit there until, let's say, Friday, where they would then wait and all of them would merge their changes all at once into the master branch. You would get conflicts and panics before the weekend, and people would have to fix their code because they broke other parts of the code. Now, continuous integration avoids this by having coders make pull requests daily and merging to master daily. It's important that developers integrate their changes as soon as possible on the main repository. If you let the code sitting on the branch or developer workstation for too long, then you expose yourself to this risk of having too many conflicts and all these features not working together. By integrating your code early, you reduce the scope of the changes, which makes it easier for people to understand conflicts when you have them. And they're also a lot smaller. Now, in order for us to be making constant pull requests and daily code reviews and daily merges to master, like we want to do here, we need a little bit of help. Luckily for us, there's tools out there that we can use, including free ones, that can help this process and help us implement continuous integration so that we go from here to looking like this. The one thing you might notice here is that we've added a few things. One is that we now have tests linting, maybe TypeScript, so we have static typing to avoid any errors. We run those on our computer as developers, locally as we're working on a feature. And then we perhaps put it through something like Prettier, which we'll talk about, that formats your code in a standard way. So despite having all these developers, all the code is going to look the same and it will be prettier. And that code goes up to GitHub. And here on GitHub, before there's any code review or before we do any merges, we pass off that pull request to one of these tools that's going to run some tests for us. And here I have CircleCI, a tool that we're going to be using in the next couple of videos, and I'll demonstrate how it works. There's many solutions out there. You have CircleCI, Travis CI, CodeShip, Semaphore CI, Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, or many, many others. Again, software tools come with the best names, don't they? Anyway, they work in a simple way. You have a server that runs your continuous integration or continuous delivery. What does that mean? Well, when you merge, once you've tested everything, when you make the pull request to GitHub, GitHub automatically lets a CircleCI server know, hey, we just have a pull request. Can you run all the tests, perhaps run TypeScript, run linting, run all the tests, make sure everything passes, and build the project. If nothing fails in that step, everything is good to go. All right, this PR is valid. You can now do a code review, and somebody can do a final check on the code, and then people can merge it. So we're adding this extra step over here, or an extra machine that's going to do some work for us automatically every time we make a PR. And CircleCI is a software as a service solution. It hosts servers for you, and you don't have to worry about it. They'll manage the server, and they'll run the tests for you. All you need to do is just tell them what they need to run. Unlike CircleCI or Travis CI, if you're worried about security or you want to just have your own server and manage your own server, let's say that Keiko Corp wants to manage their own server for continuous integration, well, you can use other tools like Jenkins to do that, which lets you manage the server yourself. And it's a little bit more flexible. But CircleCI is great. I've worked with CircleCI before. It's really, really nice to use. And all these tools are quite similar. So we're going to use CircleCI as an example to understand fully what continuous integration does, how you can add this piece into our flow, including Prettier, including tests, so that in the future, when you start a project, you can implement this on your own. So in the next video, we're going to get started with our CI pipeline. See you in that one. Bye-bye.